Hello, my name is Philip Bloom and I want to introduce you to this little man here. This is Jimmy the Greek, the rescue kitten from Skiathos. You may have seen in my documentary series, the Skiathos Kittens. Welcome to the world of guest appearances in Philip Bloom Reviews. Which one is it today? It's a 360 camera, isn't it, Jimmy? Which one? It's the one in the title, of course.
Stand clear of the door, please.
I don't want to start this video on too much of a downer, but I do feel it's important to address something that's happened in the past 3 weeks, which has been very difficult and has kind of stopped me doing any work completely. You already know I love my cats very much, and they appear in my videos all the time. About 3.5 weeks ago, my cats got sick. They picked up the flu, and Percy was hospitalised. Bertie is just recovering now. Percy's doing well. He's home and doing very well. But Noodle didn't make it, and she passed away in my arms about 2.5 weeks ago. She just went downhill really, really fast, and it's a huge loss to me because she's been part of my life for 18 years since she chose me as a little kitten when she walked along at the breeder's pen and just sat on my lap and looked up at me and purred. And she's been in so many of my videos. So if you follow me on social media, you'll know her pictures, but she's in my videos. But more importantly, she was a fantastic friend and companion for 18 years. She's always there for me, my constant, the kindest, most gentle little cat I've ever known. Always there to meet me at the front door, always desperate to sit on me and cuddle me. She was the best cat anybody could ever ask for, and there's a huge hole in my home without her. Sarah and I miss her so much, and the other guys miss her, of course. She got to meet Jimmy for a couple of weeks. She didn't get on with Harriet because Harriet's a bit of a loner, but yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to dedicate this video to my lovely Noodle, and I miss you. I got my first 360 camera, I think it was April 2015, so 3.5 years. And that was the Ricoh Theta M15, which was fun. It was a great first introduction to them. And I just thought it was going to be a gadget for messing around with. The video wasn't very good. The stills were very nice, but the video really wasn't very good at all. But I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the creative aspects of what you could do with it. And the cameras got better. There were high resolution recording for video, which was a big deal, but never really enough, because 4K is good, but you do need more, because the 4K is the entire spherical image. What are you doing, Jimmy? Oh, he's a bit of a vampire, keeps biting everything. So the whole thing is, and when you're going to zoom in, and especially if you're using a headset, you're only using a portion of that video, so the higher the resolution the better, hence things like the Insta360 Pro, which records in 8K, which I have done a full review of, create much better results. But most of the smaller, cheaper cameras really are about 4K. And using headsets is great. It's a great way of immersing yourself into something, and I do like to record 360 video on the Insta360 Pro in cool places so you can revisit them and experience what they're like. But really the most interesting aspect of 360 cameras is how you can use technology to create standard two-dimensional type images, because you're capturing the whole stuff, and the ability to really stabilize the footage in camera to give some incredible results. That's the stuff that's really excited me over the past year or so. This is the Insta360 ONE, which came out last year, and the ability to stabilize footage in this was fantastic. It shoots 4K really nicely. It's a really excellent 360 camera, one of the best ones that I've had. Let's take it out of here. So it's got two lenses, and it connects directly to your phone. It's a lightning thing. I think there's an Android one as well. Didn't like this though. You connect it up here to download stuff and also change your settings and see a live preview. And that's a bit of a pain because you don't want it on your phone, you want to take it off and put it wherever you want it to be, and you need to disconnect it and then select Bluetooth, and then you have limited ability to change things. You don't have a live preview on your phone, for example, anyway, and there's no display on the actual camera, so you don't really know what mode you're in, which is a bit of a pain. This is the Gopro Fusion. It's very powerful, nice image, and terrific stabilization. It was amazing. When I first got this, I was so impressed. The workflow completely sucked, incredibly painful. A lot of the stabilization was done in post, although it does have very good stabilization in camera. You're not really wanting it for the 360. It is for creating these incredibly cool moves and looks and positions, make it seem like the camera's out in front of you. It's very good. But let's get back onto the Insta360 ONE X, now to be known purely as the ONE X because that's too much of a mouthful. So this is the ONE X, not as in the iPhone 10. This is called the X. It comes in this little soft pouch, which is okay. Just make sure you do put it front in, because the problem you're going to have is if either a lens gets damaged, it's useless. It will need to go in for repair. These aren't switchable. So you want as much protection as you can. This is fine as long as you put it in this way. Whereas the One came in this hard case, so you put the camera in like this, the lens is in that way, and it was very good, and it never came out loose, and I'm worried that may come out loose in my bag. And this also doubled as a really nice stand, so you could put it on here, and it's nice and stable. So that's what I really like about this. So initial thoughts about the X purely on that aspect was like, ooh, I'm a bit worried about that. And the other thing was the fact that when you put it on a table, it's not got much of a base, and you look at how much of that was, and I'd be very concerned of it falling over. So what I actually do is I have this little tripod plate here, and it's easy removable and just gives me a bit of a base. It's not ideal, but it makes it a bit more stable if you want to have the camera just like this. If you're using the selfie stick, called the invisible selfie stick, let me just put this on here. If you just have it like this, this is again not very stable, so you could put on this little quick release plate, but I would probably recommend getting those mini tripods, the really small tripods, just to give it a better base. You don't want it falling over, do you? But most time you are actually going to hold it, and the way that this is not seen, this stick is not seen, is because it is directly between the two lenses. Anything underneath here gets cancelled out, so you extend it out and get a nice long shot. Let me just hit record to show you. Here we go. So you cannot see this selfie stick at all. Now you can use other brands of selfie stick, but just make sure that it is completely straight. You'd never want to turn it. The temptation is to, if you have the ability to turn it, is to make it face you. You don't need to do that. It's a 360 camera. It doesn't need to do that. And if you make it sort of tilt this way, then you will see the selfie stick come into frame. The ONE X is on a different selfie stick now, not the one, just so I can show you what happens if you tilt it to try and make it point towards you. So I'm pointing it towards me now, but you can see what happens here. You don't need to. It should just be that way. So keep it dead straight. Well, that's how it gets cancelled out. It's no voodoo, it's very simple, basic technology. Not that basic, but you know what I mean. It's between the lenses. Just on pure usability, the X is so much better than the One. We don't have to have it plugged in anymore to get the preview and to change our settings. It is now via Wi-Fi. You can plug in if you want to, but the Wi-Fi is so much faster. And we have a nice little LCD screen which shows us our settings so we can see what we're doing if we want to just quickly record without getting the phone up and running. So that is a big plus. The camera is a massive improvement over the One. Let's start off with just the resolution. We can now record in 5.7K up from 4K. It does make a difference because we need all that extra resolution so we can zoom in and crop and stuff like that, because the more we have, the better the results will be. In that 5.7K though, it is only in 30p. There's no 24p mode or 25p mode. I have asked them, please, can you implement this? It is important. For example, this video is being shot in 25p. And for me to insert stuff from this, I'm having to slow it down to match that frame rate. Otherwise, it's going to be dropping frames and look jerky, which makes you think the quality isn't very good. So that's not ideal. I really do want it to be 24p and 25p. The Insta360 Pro does all of these frame rates, so hopefully they'll bring it down into this, and also the other camera, the One. It would be great if they did. In 4K, we can record at 50 frames per second for some nice slow motion, which is great to have slow motion at 50p. And in 3K, we have 100 frames per second. Now we can actually have even higher than that, and that is using, I'd say it's a little bit of a party trick, and that is the bullet time. So we have here, the bullet time from the Matrix. In the One, it recorded 720p for 240 frames a second to get this, and you put it on. It was a piece of string actually with the One, the initial one, and it was a bit terrifying. They've got this handle now, although it does look a bit sort of menacing. And you stretch it out to the full thing, and then I'm not going to do it in here, you spin it around whilst you're doing something vaguely interesting and to create a cool effect. Now it is a bit of a party trick, as I said. It's not something you're going to use a lot. The most important way of filming with this will be handheld, just on the selfie stick. But it's nice to have it, and if you're doing something really cool and fun, then for sure, just don't use it in any confined spaces, because you know very well it's not going to end well.
Raise your hand. You better step up and get control. Take this chance. Everything you want is attainable. Make your plan. You gotta figure out which way to go. Raise your hand.
This really does have an incredible stabilization. It's a 6-axis gyroscopic stabilization internally, which creates incredibly good results. Better than any of the other cameras that I've used. I think it's better than the Fusion. I think it's better than the One for sure. It's incredibly good results. It is a bit like replacing a gimbal. The GoPro Hero 7 has fantastic in-camera stabilization, and I have that. And it is incredibly good results. They call it the gimbal killer, which means they want to kill off their own Karma gimbal. But the difference between something like that and something like this is this stabilizes everything. So if I'm shooting and it moves, up and left and right and everything, it will stabilize all of that. Whereas when you're shooting with the Hero 7, it will stabilize your up and down, your left and right, and movements back and forth, but it won't do anything like that. So it will tilt on there. But with this, it does it amazingly. Of course, the Hero 7 does record in 4K. I think it drops a bit of resolution when you are stabilizing it, but you get a high quality image for that. Whereas with the 5.7K sensor, you are going to, when you zoom in, lose more. So it's probably closer to about, depending on how much you zoom in, to around 1080p. Okay, walking along, seeing what this 4K Hypersmooth is like. If I angle, this is the stuff that I want to really see. And bouncing up and down, and more to the side, bouncing up and down. This is what I really want to see. See how well that does. I'm going to be busy now. Let's go back in. Harry. You got distracted. Come on. You're too fast. It also does shoot in log. Now, it's only 8-bit though, and I think the bit rate is about 120 megabits a second in the 5.7K, which is fine. Look, the A7S II cameras, they shoot 100 megabits a second in 8-bit for 4K, so it's about right for that. It's still a bit on the low side, but being 8-bit, you are going to have issues with any banding, especially if you do shoot in log. So if you are going to shoot log, just make sure you get your exposure perfect. I haven't been shooting in log, I've just been finding the normal profile absolutely fine. The app itself is very powerful. It's a little bit messy. It's got a landing page with all sorts of crap on it, and you go in it, and there's lots of different ways of using it and modes. It's the editing which is the most important aspect of it. You just need to get your head around it, because there's a lot of things you can do with it, from following the subject on there to keeping dead center of frame, to changing your positions of the cameras and moving it around in creative ways, to doing hard edits and stuff like that. It's incredibly good. You just need to, get to know it really well. There's a time-lapse mode, so record, 1 frame every second and get some nice time lapses. And because it can be stabilized, you can get incredibly lovely hyperlapse looking stuff. So that is fantastic. I think my favourite thing about the One X is actually the time shift mode, which is recording normal video and then changing the speed in post to create some really cool things. And I've been messing around a bit with it to get some quite creative results. So I'm in Twickenham Riverside. I have an idea to try and make this fun, because I've done some already and they're good, but they weren't really planned for the actual time shift. They were just a bit of fun. This one I'm going to plan and see how it goes. Oh, and this is the Gopro 7, as you can see. It stabilizes really well, just not on that axis. So in time shift mode, you can record in the full resolution at 30p, or you could shoot in the 4K at 50. So in theory, the 4K 50 should give you better slow motion, and it does. It just is going to be at a cost of the other image, but I think it's the best option. And the way that it does, it takes all that video, and you can play at normal speed. You can play all these different things. You do it in the app on the phone. It's only on the phone, and you can change the starting in slow motion, so at normal speed, go to slow motion, go to 16 times, which is the hyperlapse mode, and it adds motion blur, and that's what makes it look so slick. Normally you need to have ND on, slow shutter, and you can't do that in video. You can only do it in stills. It's very cool. It does really good things. The key thing is you need to think about what works great for slow motion and what works great for speeding up. So getting a good mixture of both of those for these shots. Well, I'm not sure if he's waiting for me to go, but until I've done this piece of camera, I'm not going anywhere. I think it was okay. The problem is the sun has gone, so it's getting a bit dark and it does need light, because it does shoot at high shutter speed. I don't want to get ISO in because it's noisy, obviously. And it didn't work quite as well as I hoped for. The seagulls weren't playing ball, and I think there was too much walking without anything happening. But maybe I'll do something in post, and I could also just edit it a little bit. My previous ones have all been one shots, but let's see how this one goes, if I can edit it a little bit. And I want to use some natural sound, so let's see how it goes, as in me speaking in the actual situation. It may not work, in which case what you're about to see now will be completely different to what you expect, but let's have a look. First off, though, I'm just going to show you what I do with the app and how I manipulate it and turn it into a cool, hopefully, time shift. I keep saying hyperlapse, it's not hyperlapse. Here it is. First off, you select the aspect ratio you want it to be. Having it 16:9, because it's going in this edit, you can have it as 1:1 for Instagram, or 9:16 for God's sake, why would you do this vertical video? But it does work great on, say, Instagram stories. I'm not going to go into every single thing I've done here, just show you some key things like pivot points, which means you can change which way the camera is pointing. Because remember, it's recording everything, up, down, left, right, everything around. So you can move the camera to any point that you want. And so I'm going to be on me, and then I'm going to set a point, and I can spin it around and point at the front. And the key thing when doing hyperlapse is that ability to change the speed. You have a little button there for motion blur. Do tick that, it makes it so much better. But 16 times is what it's set for hyperlapse. You can go faster, but it just looks a little bit too fast. So 16 times is a good speed. Although in its actual edit, I have sped it up slightly more, but I did that within Premiere. Did a little bit more editing on it, cut out some sections, and importantly added lots of sound effects, some Foley, which weren't recorded then and there, but just added so much to the edits as you've seen on those previous hyperlapses in this review. Now you can change it into small world if you want to, but unless I'm missing something, I can't work out how to go to small world and then go back to normal. It is possible, I'm sure, I just haven't figured out how to do it. You can't zoom in to be slightly tighter or pull out to be slightly wider. It's either small world or it is zoomed in this amount. Again, maybe there's something I'm missing in the app, or maybe it's something that can be added in the app. I don't know. There was a nice little moment where this guy asked me a question and I used a natural sound there. The mic isn't brilliant, but it was absolutely fine for this sort of fun thing. I mean, this sort of thing, I'm not quite sure what the commercial aspect of something like this is. I am using the One X for fun right now. And there's nothing wrong with using it for fun. For commercial aspects, it's difficult because the image isn't perfect, especially when you zoom in. There is a quality loss that you can really see when you're playing it on something like YouTube, on a mobile phone. It is very acceptable. If I am doing any professional work with 360, I will be using the Insta360 Pro 2 because it does have that 8K, so it's much better quality image. Because it's so small and portable, you can have such great fun, especially with things like these time shifts. Let's have a look at it.
Sorry, mate. You don't by chance have any filters, do you? I wonder if you meant ND.
There's lots of cool accessories which are coming out for it. There is the drifter, and so you can put your camera into it and then throw it. I'd like to try it, but with somebody else's camera rather than mine. Don't really want to throw my camera. I'm sure it'll be fine. It's in the way it's designed, it's not supposed to scratch the lens, but you know, these things can happen if you're going to throw a camera. What do you expect? And there's underwater housings. There's one which is just for sort of being waterproof, so splash and stuff, which you can go underwater to 5 meters. If you really want to go proper underwater, you need the dive housing because it's going to optically correct the case so it stitches well. I do actually have an underwater case for the One, and I tried it out. It's just I'm not really in water that much, so I've not really done anything exciting apart from really I'm in the bath a fair bit. And yeah, I did actually try it in the bath, and no, I'm not going to show you any clips now because it's incredibly disturbing. But if you would like to see it, drop me an email and I'll send it your way. So we have a micro SD card, which is fantastic for offloading your footage quicker rather than on some internal memory, which is great. And I've got a 128 gigabyte in there. No, I don't. I have a 64 gig. I haven't got my glasses on. I can't read that. We also have removable battery, which is very cool. So you can have spares going. You can recharge it via your USB. You can even have it plugged into USB while shooting, but the chances of getting the cable in shot are quite high. Of course, if you've only got one battery, then it's exactly the same as having an internal battery because you're not going to take it out, are you? But yeah, if you can get spare batteries, then it's definitely worth doing, and make sure you get a little charging hub so they're all charged. But what I tend to do, because I've only got the one battery, is between shots, make sure you get yourself a nice man bag. This is my compagnon little messenger man bag, which I keep a mirrorless camera in, and a wallet and glasses and stuff like that, but also a battery, a USB battery like this, and plug it into this. So every time you've used it, you put it back in the case. You do need a USB cable as well, otherwise it doesn't work, and it always keeps it charged up. The battery lasts about 45 minutes to an hour or so. So that's the way to do it, unless you can get yourself some spare batteries. It is a massive improvement over the previous model, the One. I think it's better than the Fusion. I think it's a terrific camera. It's in this price range, there is nothing close to it. It is more expensive than most of the smaller ones out there, £440. This is not something, unless you're rich, this is not something you're just going to buy on a whim and go, I'll give it a try. You're going to be pretty committed to, messing around and using this as a tool. Most of the previous smaller ones that I've got are on the sort of like £150, £200 mark. Of course, if you're going to go up to the bigger ones, the Pro 2, for example, is about £4,000, but that's a big, serious beast. But for the smaller ones, £440 or so. For the quality of the stabilization and the results that you get, I would say it's worth it. Something I will use a lot if they can give me that 25p and 24p for other people. Because right now I can't use it in my other edits. And the quality of the video is very good, and it is good enough to use in other work. So that's what I need it to have to really become a really useful tool for my work. For just car mounted stuff or walking around stuff. You could even use it for vlogging and get some really good results. Although the microphone quality is not great, I would recommend using a lav mic and recording your audio separately if you're going to go down that road of vlogging with it. But it's a nice simple way of doing something like that for sure. For me, that was a pretty short review, so thank you very much for watching. I do want to just mention one more thing about my Movember fundraiser for prostate cancer research and awareness and testicular cancer, men's mental health. I do a fundraiser every year. I've done it it's my 11th year, and we've raised £215,000 in that time. And the way that I do it is I ask companies to donate a prize, filmmaking companies, and it gets put into a prize draw. And you guys will enter this prize draw by donating £15 to my Movember campaign, sending me a receipt, and then in December I do the prize draw, and you can win some amazing prizes. And the top prize I have this year is Zcam E2, which is a fantastic camera. It is a cinema camera with a sensor same size as GH5S and Terra 4K. It shoots in 4K up to 120 frames per second in ProRes 10 bits and 240 frames per second in HD. It's an incredibly powerful camera and incredibly small. So that's our top prize, but there's loads of other things. So this is where you need to enter, and there'll be a link in the text as well. You know that bit you never read? The text as well. So thank you very much for donating to that. And if you haven't donated, but you're going to, I'm just thanking you in advance, aren't I? So from myself and the cats, and you've got Bert here right now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Probably with a moustache.
I like Australians.
Why don't you go and marry one?
Well, maybe I will.
I thought you liked Germans.
I like
Make your mind up. What's that mean, Sarah? Oh, that's really high.
I just remember the words.
Yeah, clearly. You know you're in the worst place with this camera, right? Just being that close to it. This is what I have to deal with every day. Every day.